Canada. But welcome, everyone. Thank you for spending the hour with us today. It's our first webinar of the year. We're starting a new series here. Tori and I have known each other for close to a decade now. We both are passionate about helping people, and specifically with email marketing and delivery. It's kind of a mysterious world, how to get your email to the inbox. So, sit back, enjoy, and we'll spend the next hour talking about email. So,
we can definitely talk about it a lot.
maybe introduce yourself, Tori, or just talk a bit of where you are or what you do.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Tori. I started my career in email at Kickmail, actually, almost a decade ago. Learned everything I had to learn from Kevin. So, that's where the knowledge comes from. And since then, same goals as we had before, is to help make sure that people have the information they need in order to succeed at email. When it comes to email, we always think about design, subject lines, content, but we don't think about the technological part. And what's the point of email if no one actually gets it in the inbox, right? So first, let's get those emails in the inbox.
Okay, let's dive in. First slide, please, Isabella.
Perfect. So build your brand.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about the topic first of all. These are kind of resolutions for the year. It's a new year. It's January, so maybe we don't think about these during the year, but this is a good time. It's kind of a reset, as everyone knows. It's a good idea to maybe make these changes now. I mean, working up until Christmas, I know from firsthand, can be a really busy time of year. It's not the best time to make changes. So, January is a good time to implement these ideas. So maybe not do all of them. It's up to you guys. Obviously, take them, the advice you want to, but only if you make one change, it's for the better. So let's dive in here. Building your brand, getting to know. So a lot of small businesses in particular, Tori and I were just talking about this. They're still sending from their own home account, like a Gmail address or something. But when it comes to sending email marketing, you want to reflect your brand. You want it to stay consistent. You want people to recognize your email right away. So your domain is a huge part of that. So if you are thinking about getting your own domain, or maybe you have a website, but you don't have email yet, there's some free services out there that you can use. Tori will talk about that in a future slide. But make sure it's unique. Make sure it reflects your brand. Make sure it's something memorable. And it should stay consistent. It should be the same. Your email domain should be the same as your website. Ideally, it should be the same as the person or your recipients went to purchase or sign up using a form. It establishes credibility and trust. I mean, if they're receiving email from the same domain they signed up on and it's the same every week, I mean, obviously that looks good. They know right away where the email's from. They know where they signed up. They know your relationship. So that entices them to open your email. And the more people that open, the better. We'll talk about that too. Using a consistent sender name and address, obviously, that's important as well. And branding your account. You can actually brand all of the links within the email on your domain. So that not only makes you look better, it establishes trust with not only your clients, your recipients, but also with the ISPs as well. So it's a lot easier for them to filter spam when they know they can see all of the domains are the same. It's the same, and throughout the entire email, as well as some of the authentication, which we'll talk about in a minute. You can also brand the bounce domain and the unsubscribe. So everything in the email is on the same domain. So those are really good reasons to go in that direction.
Yeah, and small to medium-sized businesses, sometimes the issue is a question of budget. We don't want to be paying the $20 a month to have an inbox, because not every business receives and sends emails, like on a personal company inbox, right? So having tools like Zoho, where as long as you have your domain and your website, you can create an inbox. It's free. You can receive emails. You can use them in order to send emails, through your email marketing software provider, your invoicing, and so on. I mean, it's 2020, I was going to say 2022, it's 2023. And we all want to look, everything wants to be branded, or Instagram accounts want everything to be the same logos, the same domains, so that people can recognize it. And when we're a smaller business, sometimes we might not have the budget to be sending out emails 1 million times a day like Amazon. So if there's anything we do have control over is our image. So we shouldn't be sending from Gmails or Yahoos. There's like technical reasons why we shouldn't. But on a human perspective, we want the emails to be coming from us and people to start recognizing in order to build a brand. It's more than just email at this point, even though it's super important in email.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good segue into this next slide, authentication. Why is authentication so important? So when you own your own domain, you're able to set up these methods of authentication. If you want to go into the next slide, Isabel. So and authentication is really important. Again, it's reinforcing your brand. It's establishing you as a trusted sender, not only with your clients, but with the ISPs as well. And it's the ISPs that hold that door open, whether you hit the inbox or not. So, and it's their rules you need to follow. So being able by using a sending domain that you own, that's branded to your brand, you can set up these different methods of authentication, and choosing the right ESP will allow you to do that. I mean, SPF has been around since about 2000, so over 20 years now. I won't get into the too technical on these, but basically SPF is it will authenticate different IP addresses. So it will authorize different IP addresses to send on your domain's behalf. So it prevents people from fraudulently using your domain. DKIM, similar, but it takes it one step further. It actually encrypts the message using a pair of DKIM keys. And it just makes sure that the message isn't altered in transit. The receiver will be able to see the private key in the message when it's being sent, and then will do a DNS lookup on your from domain. And if those two records match, then the DKIM will authenticate, and you'll hit the inbox more often than not. DMARC has been around since 2015. It works off both DKIM and SPF. So if your SPF and DKIM are both passing and they both are using the same domain as your from address, DMARC will pass. DMARC stands for Domain Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance. The last two things on there are really, really important. When it comes to protecting your brand, you need to make sure that people aren't using your domain without your permission. So the great thing about DMARC is you, as the sender, can control what happens to mail that fails SPF and DMARC if it doesn't align, and you get a report back. ISPs actually are nice enough to let you know what IPs are sending from your domain, what emails are spoofing, so you can take action on that. BIMI is relatively new. It's been around for about 2 years now. Basically, it's kind of like that blue check mark in Twitter. So if all these things line up and you have a registered trademark, you can actually see your logo in the Gmail inbox or Yahoo inbox. So it's a great way, again, to reinforce your brand, to reinforce your logo, and it establishes trust. So when people just look at their inbox without actually opening the message, they know that it's from you, it's trusted, and they can be safe in opening it.
And the one thing that's important is that it always sounds like very, very technical to do. One, I know that at Kickmill, we've authenticated hundreds and hundreds of domains over the years to help people set things up, but it's something you set once and you forget it, unless you're changing email marketing tools or you're buying a million different tools that kind of send emails with your domain. Once you do this, you're good to go. And the other important part is that a lot of businesses, they're like, my business is way too small. Like, of course, we're thinking about like, PayPal or Amazon. We want to, scammers or whatever want to pretend to be those brands in order to steal information from you. But there's a lot of other reasons why people might want to use your reputation to send out emails. So if you don't have any of these in place, not only does it make it hard because you have no visibility of who's pretending to be you, but the inbox service providers as well might not be able to differentiate you who's not authenticated versus a spoofer who's also not authenticated using your domain. And no business is too small. If I'm not mistaken, last year, you guys scroll really down for a year or two on the Twitter of Spamhaus, they had like a report that was saying the number of domains that had been used for spoofing throughout the year. And it was like a huge percentage of domains. And I know that I buy a bunch of domains. Every time I have a new idea, I buy another domain. And because I don't send emails, I might not necessarily think of, putting any of these in place just to make sure I can track it. I don't know if any people have used those domains to pretend they're that domain and they can send from it. So maybe one day if I decided to actually start sending emails, my domain would already have low reputation because I didn't protect it. And the smaller you are, you're the target, market of spoofers here. It's a lot harder to pretend to be a bigger company because they have the resources, the people that might be looking for this. When we're a small business, and small businesses is not like 1-2 employees. I mean, small business in terms of, do we have an IT department? Do we have engineers? Do we have somebody that's looking at this every day? You're the you're the person we're going to steal, the reputation from. So you're never too small. And of course, why not build on top of the branding to build a historical reputation with the mailbox providers? And authentication definitely helps with that. It proves it's you.
Great. List hygiene. Well, we could spend a whole webinar on this.
Yeah, I think it's the most common topic, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the foundation to your house. If you have a good list, I mean, that everything kind of falls into place after that. So the
Exactly.
policies and the practices that you have in place for you can go on to the next slide, Isabel. Keep the list engaged and regularly removing bounces, unsubscribe, and complaints. If you're with an ESP like CakeMail, we do all that for you. I mean, if you're sending in-house, get a whole bunch of hard bounces, you got to go in and manually update your CRM or manually update your CSV file. So it's a big pain. If someone is doing that for you, I mean, and they're experts, they know what bounces should be removed, and it cleans your list. The more you send to your list, the more these bounces get removed, the more people can have a chance to unsubscribe. You always want them to unsubscribe, if rather than being dead weight on your list. Dead weight will actually affect your delivery. It's not about having a huge list anymore. It's about having an engaged list. Engagement separates. Think of yourself, put yourself in Gmail or ISP's point of view. I mean, they have users they need to think about. If their inbox is full of spam, they're going to go somewhere else. So you need to do whatever you can to make sure that your email is as far away from the spam as possible. So, obviously spammers generate a lot of bounces. They'll, if they do even have an unsubscribe there, they'll generate a ton of complaints. They're going to hit spam traps. So, I mean, your list is paramount. Building your list is key. Again, I go back to that foundation, using double opt-in, confirming the address is actually owned by the person who signed up. That extra step is crucial in making sure that you have the proper permission. You can prove it if you need to, and it will also remove the bounces along the way. So if someone fills out a form, for example, or makes a purchase, they're going to get sent that confirmation email, and if it bounces, then you know that address shouldn't be in your list. So the next time you go and send to your list, you're not sending to hundreds or thousands of different of bounces, which makes you look bad. Segmenting your list as well. I'll let you take that one, Tori.
Yes. When it comes to list hygiene, sometimes like we're focusing on, does the email exist? Does the email not exist? Or is somebody abusing my forms? I have a form on my website and anybody can inject emails in it. And once again, no business is too small to get emails injected in their list. Especially if you don't have double opt-in to stop it, where the first email gets sent out, but because the email address might not have signed up or might not exist, it just stops there. What we want to make sure as well is the engagement is maintained. So if your business, we're going to take an example of a business that might be, 10 years old, you've had people that subscribed on your form 10 years ago, they might not be just as engaged to your emails. Some of them might be because you're depending on the industry that you're in. But the examples that we like to use very often are those businesses that might have very short life cycles, mattresses, cars, even like Puma or Amazon. How many things can you possibly buy? If Amazon sends you 10 emails a day, are you going to buy something every single day? At some point, it's impossible to, open all these emails and engage with them. And this is not only in terms of, your open rates might go down over time, is that the inboxes want you to send emails to people who care about the emails. If not, you're sending emails that they have to store. You're sending emails that people are ignoring. And over the years, if it, took you 10 years to get and build that list, and you have everybody on that list since the beginning and just keep emailing them forever, the number of people that should be engaged should be usually the most recent people. And then you have this 9-year-old list that you're still sending emails to. So the inboxes are seeing, 90% of the people are old customers that don't engage anymore, and only the new ones are engaging. So you're showing to inboxes that your email is not interesting, not because you're not interested or interesting, your emails are not good, just because you've accumulated all these people forever. And when we start sending emails and we're doing everything perfectly fine, the list is clean, we don't have, spam traps or people bouncing, but engagement is low, emails start landing in the spam folder. And everybody gets angry. But when we talk about social media, it's normal. If I put a picture that nobody cares about, my friends don't care about, no one else will see it. If I put a picture on Instagram that my followers like, maybe everyone else is going to see it as well, right? Why is that acceptable from these algorithms, LinkedIn and all these other social media. And then we get angry when email says, well, from 100 of the emails you send, only 2 people care consistently. And then we get angry at Google, like the politicians did in the US, that people weren't getting emails. People don't want them. So it's important to not only keep your list clean to, of course, remove email addresses that don't exist. Employees change jobs, emails don't exist anymore. You might close your domain or change it. The inbox doesn't exist anymore. So those are organic. And like Kevin said, Cakeman will take care of them, ESPs will take care of them, but there's also the engagement part. And yes, I know we want huge lists, we want to be sending as many emails to as many people as possible. They did show some interest, but sometimes you can let them go, or you can just resegment them and send to them at a smaller cadence, or send to them the really important things. Like if I bought a mattress, probably another mattress email is not going to help. Send me something else, how to clean the mattress, or please send a review, or pillows and pillowcases. Just don't send me the mattress, right?
That's a great point. I kind of think of your list as having a party in a room. So the list is the room, and you have people coming and going. Some people sit on the couch and they're not really interested anymore. They're tired, or they're looking at their watch. You want those people out of there because they're not making your party look very fun. But you want, fresh people coming in all the time, and they're super full of energy. So I kind of think of it that way.
Yeah.
You'll go up to the person on the couch and go, oh, would you like to talk about this? Or would you like another drink? You're re-engaging that person to the party. But, if they say no, or they don't show interest, or, it's time to cut dead weight, because those people are actually affecting the delivery of the emails that you're trying to get to the inbox. So why keep them around? Those days of, blasting emails to as many people as possible are gone. ISPs have been looking at engagement for a while now. Gmail kind of invented it. You need to keep your list organized. And I'll let you talk about the validation tools that are out there. It's kind of cool. Spending a lot of time on each slide here, but we'll speed up. Don't worry.
Yeah, or just talk at the mandatory speed, like super duper fast. When it comes to validation tools, that's something usually a lot of people are aware of, especially if you might not be consistent in sending emails, or you're moving ESPs and you're trying different tools maybe. Validation tools are really great. They will check a lot of things that will help reduce the amount of bounces and everything, but there is no validation tool on the planet that is going to be able to remove all the emails that are going to negatively impact your reputation and your bounces and so on. So it's extremely important to take it with a grain of salt. Of course, validating your list, especially if you haven't emailed them in a long time, might be a very important step. Like we said, businesses close, people change jobs, you have email addresses that are not being used anymore. Like I've gone through a lot of email addresses in the last couple of years, even just Gmails. I think I have 7 Gmail accounts on my phone, and that's hopefully one day I'll kill them, the older ones, once I migrate some of my subscriptions. But there is no email marketing. There's no marketing tool. There's no email validation tool that's going to be able to remove all spam traps. No matter what the marketing says to get you in there from the Google ad, it's impossible, because for technical reasons, and of course, the whole purpose of having these email addresses that are dying or not good and that impact you on purpose to find you if you're not a good sender, it would be rendered moot if it was easy to clean them out. Then whoever had the money would clean them, and then they wouldn't have issues. And that's definitely not how it works. There is no one tool that can do it. It helps, it reduces issues, especially, there's businesses that send emails once a year or once every 6 months, because that's the industry you're in, and that's fine. So you're more likely to clean your list. But if not, it's important to take it with a grain of salt. We want organic bounces. If my email existed yesterday, doesn't exist today, Google, Microsoft is not going to get angry at you because you didn't magically know that Yana Tori close her business or change her email address. The problem is that if you haven't emailed in 6 months and there's a bunch of Yana Toris that changed email address and so on, you're going to have a high bounce rate, which is not going to look good at the beginning. So it helps, but it's not a foolproof method. It's not because you're cleaning your list that you're safe. And as you see, we're 0.3. We can talk about this.
One thing I really like about the validation services out there, they kind of give you a report card of how healthy your list is. So how many role accounts, how many info ats do you have on your list? How many addresses, how many are at blah blah blah.com? It's important to know that before you blast to the list on the first time. So it's they do have their value, but like you said, no one can know all the spam traps out there. And if a spam trap is public, it's pretty useless. I mean, it's not going to be used by any reputable blacklist providers out there, because people and they'll just remove it. Unsubscribe versus spam reports.
So it's scary, right? We never want unsubscribes and we don't want spam complaints.
Yeah, both these are people leaving. So if we go to the next slide, the spam complaints are sent back to the sender through feedback loops, FBLs, and it's free feedback. You can sign up to feedback loops at a lot of different ISPs out there. Validity has a universal feedback, so you can actually sign up to dozens of different FBLs just in one go. Basically, anytime someone hits the spam button at the top, an email will get sent back to us, to the ESP or to the sender, and we'll be able to act on that. So we can remove that person from your list. Because if they're clicking spam every email that they receive from you, not only does that make you look bad, it hurts your reputation, but I mean, they obviously don't want to hear from you. So, why not? You need to act on that, and you need to be able to remove that person because they're really damaging the delivery again for the people who do want to receive your emails. Unsubscribing should be made easy. It should be as easy to unsubscribe as it is to sign up to your list. So don't hide the unsubscribe at the bottom of your email or make it teeny tiny text. If someone wants to get off your list, they're going to get off it, however they can. So you always want them to unsubscribe rather than register or click that spam button, because that makes you look bad. It makes you look bad. High rates of unsubscribe and spam complaints can lead to blocking issues, emails getting spent to the spam folder. It reaches your overall reputation and engagement. So, I mean, if you want to expect to hit the inbox, you need to be on top of that. Again, another good reason to go with an ESP like CakeMail, because we have that working in the background for you automatically. Let's go through to the next slide here. Make sure we're sticking on our time. Dark mode, Anatori. This is a huge thing in the industry now. So I think over 60% of the emails are opening on mobile devices, which wasn't the case 10 years ago. So what is dark mode?
Oh, so I mean, when it comes to applications, I personally, I like dark mode. Everything is black, gray, or dark colors on my computer and my cell phone, but it does impact the way you see emails, is the way you see messages. This is not something you can control in terms of like what the person is going to see. If they have it in dark mode, even if you didn't send an email that was in dark mode, that's how the person is going to receive it. When it comes to this, it's a nice to have, obviously, especially if you don't have a team of people that can just create these beautiful templates and work 10 million hours on just one email to make them look nice. But there's a couple of things you can do. So usually the easiest thing is to take your current template, you send it to a tool like Litmus or like an email preview checker, and it will show you what it looks like in all mailbox providers. It will show you what it looks like in dark mode. And you just use that. And it's like very logical. So, like when you take an image and you like change the, oh my God, not polarize, the contrast,
Contrast, yeah.
the negative version of the image, we kind of know which colors become which colors, right? So like simple things, and I'll give you like a couple of examples and you'll know exactly what I mean. So if you have a white background in your email or a very light color and your logo is very dark. So like, for example, the CakeMail logo is just one block of color. So if, for example, they're dark purple is on a beige or like a purplish light background, if I receive that email, maybe the light purple in the background will become black. And then the CakeMail logo is dark purple and black. You can still see it, but not perfectly. So one of the things you can do is you have the same logo, add an outline that might be the light purple. So if it's on the light purple, I don't know that you have an outline, or put like some fading. So that way, when it switches, the logo will still look good, even though it's a dark purple on a black background. So at the beginning, it's just doing that test to see which colors you can use and what do they become once it's in dark mode. And once you know that, you'll be using your template. So if your template looks good, it has the right logo with the little gradient or an outline around it, or if you're, some people use separations and it can be just a block of color, but sometimes the separation is an image. So if your image is black and then your background becomes black and then the black line on the black, people won't see it. So being able to tweak those little things, once one template is tweaked, then everything else is going to be okay. The main issue is usually images, because the font colors, the mailbox providers have taken that into account. So if it was light and dark, then it'll go, light, dark on light. And then there's always not only for dark mode, but there's also for accessibility reasons, we all know this one, you shouldn't use red and green one on top of the other, the same thing. So if you're able to take 2 seconds to check for accessibility, it's the same process for dark mode.
Yeah.
The only issue that, everybody might, change, colors might fluctuate through inboxes. But if a yellow becomes green, it will always be green, might be a different hue, but at least you'll have a little bit more control. And this is important, not necessarily for deliverability. It's kind of like 10 levels later. If people are able to see your email correctly, they'll be able to engage with it more. And if they can engage with it, and that we're showing positive flags, positive actions inside the mailbox. If I open an email and I can't read it, I'm like, oh, I'll read it later on my computer. And I don't get back to it, Google doesn't know what my thought process was. It's like, oh, she opened the email and she immediately left. We don't want to be accumulating those things. So dark mode is like a 2-level further away of how it helps you inbox. It's all about
it all comes down to testing your email. I mean, what does it look like?
Yeah.
If you don't know, then, how many of your list is colorblind? You'd be surprised how many people don't see all the colors that you think it's the same for everyone. Dark mode was invented because obviously having a high contrast will kill the battery on your mobile device quicker. And I'm not sure if you're like me, but sometimes I look at my phone when I'm in bed, if I'm wake up early in the morning, and I'm blinded if it's not on dark mode. So I just leave it on there all the time now.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, don't be frustrated by technology. Embrace it. It's not going anywhere.
No, it's not going anywhere.
Roll with it, baby. Free tools.
Oh, there's a lot of
reputation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Isabel.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Google Postmaster, I think they came around 2015. So it's been almost 8 years now. Again, this is free feedback from Gmail. They have a lot of privacy regulations. So they don't tell, like FBLs, for example, you won't know who's actually complaining, but they do give you a good idea of, what campaigns performed worse than others. So it's all based on DKIM. So again, you need to reinforce your brand and have your own domain name in order to be able to have access to that data. So the DKIM signature needs to be on your domain, and you need to register that with Google. But they will tell you, the reputation of your domain, what IPs are sending from that domain. There might be some in there that you didn't know about.
Yeah, it's like an Equifax for your domain name. Like this is not like us pretending that Google doesn't like you. It's Google letting you know that they like you, or you have high reputation, was a medium, low, and just bad. This is Google telling you, like you can't argue with Equifax. I mean, there might be an issue and you can contact their support and figure it out if somebody's stolen your identity. But if that's not happening, it's on you. So you need to change, or else it's not gonna change. And one thing that I'll like to mention, because a lot of people say, like, sometimes my domain has bad reputation, let me just buy a new one. Domain reputation can be fixed, but only if you change your practices. If you just buy a new domain and you don't change anything, the same thing will happen. So if you want your reputation, keep your brand, don't change your domain for no reason. Change your practices and you'll be fine, right?
That's such a good point. A lot of people try and get around blocks by changing their domain, and that is the absolute worst thing you can do. You're not fixing anything there. You're actually making the problem worse, because you're telling the ISP that you don't care about their feedback. You're just trying to get around to get your email. So I mean, it's going to blow up in your face.
Yeah.
Control of the problem and fix it. I mean, Gmail is the #1 provider for a reason. Their reach is enormous. You'd be surprised how many Gmail addresses on your list. If you don't know that number, it's time to look at that. And again, this is free data. This is free information that the free feedback that they're giving back to you. So SNDS as well, same sort of thing, but it's IP based. And it's all Microsoft domains. So Outlook.com, Live.com, MSN, Outlook, or Hotmail. If you're as old as I am, I think I signed up for my Hotmail address in 1997. Anyway, we won't go into that any further. But talk about Email Console a little bit. This is your new endeavor, Tori?
Yes, yeah. So going from an ESP to the background of Equifax for email, there's a lot of things that we usually look at, right? We're looking at our bounces, we're looking at our delivery rates, which sometimes people confuse with deliverability. Delivery is literally, the emails you send minus your bounces, minus the emails that couldn't land anywhere. But when it comes to deliverability, is the number of emails that could have landed somewhere that land actually in the inbox. Because an email can be received and we'll see it as delivered, but it won't, and the deliverability won't be good because it landed in spam and sometimes nowhere at all, right? Well, other things that we can look at, of course, Google Postmasters, that's NDS, but there's also block list checks. So we can take our domains, or if we have dedicated IPs, or, for example, one thing Kevin does check is the reputation of the IPs of Kickmill, make sure that they're not on any block list, that everything's going okay. And when your domain is on a block list, for example, you want to be notified. Different block lists are going to be listened by different inboxes. So Hotmail really likes Spamhaus. So if your domain is listed on Spamhaus, every single email is going to bounce. But
Everyone really likes Spamhaus except for the people who are blacklisted on Spamhaus.
Spamhaus. I like Spamhaus. Like people, I mean, when we're following best practices, and now everybody is going to be following all these amazing best practices, the only reason you would end up on Spamhaus is, your form is being abused. Your boss told you to upload a list that he dusted off somewhere in a Google Drive, and he's like, oh, an Excel sheet with emails. Let's put this in the ESP. But if none of those things happen, if you do see some listings, you're gonna figure out where the problem is, and you might realize it's not you necessarily. You didn't purposefully, upload a list, or maybe your unsubscribe link is broken because you're the one managing it. There's a lot of reasons why domains and IPs land on a block list. And the cool part is that when you go on Spamhaus and you check why, they tell you exactly what to look for. Clean your list, authenticate your domain, stop, moving ESPs, stop using somebody else's domain. They let you know what the problem is. So you can cry and yell and send really threatening support tickets, but they're telling you what the problem is. And at the end of the day, it's a machine. So the machine says, whoops, there's a problem. There's spam traps here. Complaining about it's not going to do anything. Clean your list, remove those spam traps. Or sometimes can be the art, like that's more technical stuff, this technical things, especially when you're taking care of your own email stuff and you're not using, something like Kickmill, things break. DMARC, for example, how many customers do we know that, somebody updated some DNS entries and they broke the SPF or DKIM and they're blocking their own emails with DMARC, right? Having access to this information helps you fix things. And also it removes a lot of the questions, like, this is the issue, let's go and fix it. And they'll delist. The Spamhaus doesn't want you to not send emails. They just want you to stop sending them in a bad way, right? So for example, with Email Console, it's like free on the website. So you just go to emailconsole.com. We have some features that are just on the website. So you can just, look at use them on your own, put your domains, put your IPs. We'll let you know if there's any block lists. There's also inboxing tests, which is also very interesting to see. We give you a list of email addresses, you send emails, and we let you know how many landed in the inbox, spam or nor at all. Now, this is not a perfect score like Google Postmaster, like Google telling you we like or we don't like you're a good sender or a bad sender, but it does give you an idea of what neutral mailboxes that might not have a great, like a long-time relationship with you, where the emails would possibly land. Because at the end of the day, the worst part about having deliverability issues is not the fact that maybe 20, 30, 40% of your emails are not landing in the inbox, is not knowing which ones are landing in the inbox and which ones are landing in spam. Is it, the new subscribers that should be receiving the emails because they're more likely to convert? Or is it my old customers that don't care, they're not getting the emails? No one can let us know. So we want the highest deliverability possible. And, like when you want a loan at the bank to buy a house, you shouldn't, pay for Equifax 2 days before your loan. You should probably have an Equifax or whatever, wherever, what is the other one? I don't remember. Equifax account months before to know in advance, is your email, is your credit score good or not? And of course, we have tools like DMARCian that allows you to take care of all the DMARC reporting. A lot of businesses, I know we don't have the budget maybe, so sometimes we're just receiving the emails ourselves. So every day we're getting reports from every single mailbox we've ever emailed ever, and we have to open them one by one. So we just kind of ignore it, right? So with a tool like DMARCian, you can actually look at the DMARC reports very easily, where the emails being sent from, not because we're only looking for spoofing, but also because if you have multiple people on your team and everybody has control of their own things, you want to make sure that another department isn't using a new tool, which might not be for email marketing, but might be like invoicing systems. But because the invoice is coming from your domain, if that's not authenticated, those invoices might not land anywhere. So having a tool like DMARCian is extremely important. Any DMARC, SPF and DKIM checker, because, engineers, everybody plays in DNS, right? Sometimes I've deleted my own SPF record by mistake.
Yeah, it happens. It absolutely happens.
Yeah.
DMARCian's been a partner with Kickmill for many years now. The one thing I really love about them, they offer free services, depending on how much volume you're sending, obviously, but they have how-to videos on how to set up SPF, what it means, how does DMARC work? It's kind of a mysterious, complicated technical thing, but they explain it to you in plain English. And they also have you can plug in your DMARC record to send to the reports to their interface. So you have a nice, attractive looking, user interface that'll show you what addresses are failing DMARC and what are not. Maybe your billing invoice, for example, is not signing with DKIM. So half of your billing emails to your clients are bouncing. Wouldn't it be useful to know that? So, I mean, like you said, things break, whether knowingly or not. So it's important that you stay on top of that.
Yeah, you want to be notified. You don't want to wait for your open rates to drop, right? And then say, what's the problem? And no one ever thinks about SPF and DKIM. It's like the last thing we'll check.
It'd be nice to know if there's an issue, though. Automation, good one.
We have only 5 minutes left, but I think we'll get it a little bit go through because we have more material. But I just want to warn you.
We'll rifle through these. Automation, just really quickly, it's a way of sending targeted emails to certain segments to your list, or based on language, or you can have welcome emails or abandoned cart emails as well. So I mean, all these things, once you set them up, it's it might take a few days to get it all set up, but once it is, you don't really have to worry about it. You know that those emails are going to be sent out 24 hours later or a week later. If someone signs up and they're not confirming or they're not engaged, you can use automation to send them specific targeted content. Another really good example was during COVID. Tori brought this to my attention. The restaurants, a lot of them are closing. So being able to send promotions or to a restaurant that you can't even go to.
Birthday coupons, and you're like, yay! And it's no free food, no free ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, it will improve the effectiveness of your email marketing efforts and then your return on investment, which is obviously why we're all here. I think this is that double slide if you want to go on to the next one. Okay, consistency, that's the double one. Important in more places than one.
Yeah.
Before with the brand and your domain name, if you're thinking about going in that direction this year, obviously it'll build recognition and trust, but trust not only with your recipients, with your clients, but also with the ISPs as well. So if they see all of the links within the domain, even the unsubscribe link at the bottom, if they're all in the same domain, not all ESPs will support this, but the good ones do. And so it's a method of you to reinforce your brand across all channels too, not just email, social media, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, if all these things are all on the same domain, again, that's a good thing. It can only benefit in the long run. You'll be less likely to be marked as spam, improve your overall reputation. And once you have a reputation, it's kind of like a child, don't you want to receive a report card from your kids if they're failing a class? I mean, this is feedback you're getting from your teacher. So why would you ignore it? I mean, that's obviously going to go in the wrong direction for your child. Think of email marketing kind of like that. So,
and it can be also like the consistency of tools. Sometimes I know, senders like to blame the email marketing tool. They like to blame the CakeMails and the MailChimps of the world. And at the end of the day, let's all be honest, that Kevin knows what he's doing, right? He knows how to maintain the ecosystem and make sure that it's healthy and that he's doing everything in order for emails to land in the inbox. And ESPs have that reputation with, the inboxes, right? Google knows that CakeMail has reputable infrastructure with reputable senders. So if you're doing things, in a medium kind of manner, there's so much that an ESP can do for you. Like I can, if I have really bad credit score, maybe I can go, with my husband or my mom to the bank and use her credit report in order to get a house. But the bank might not necessarily accept that either, not because she has a perfect credit score that I will get the loan, even if I have a good salary, if my credit is bad, right? Or I've shown to the banks that I'm unable to pay my bills. Same thing with the spam filters, because at the end of the day, they're looking at a million things. So if you're not sending emails at a regular pace, of course, the users, your subscribers are not going to expect your email. So they're also going to act erratically, which further, creates issues with engagement and showing to spam filters that maybe your emails are not wanted. You're higher risk of getting bounces. The inbox service providers have no idea what to expect next from you. So they can't even protect you if somebody else is pretending to be you, because if you're sending emails every Monday and then from a new source, random emails are coming or being sent, they might be able to differentiate a lot easily that, hey, this is the real sender, these are not the real ones. There's a lot of things that come in consistency, and it's more than just, branding and design. It's at the end of the day, you're dealing with a machine, and you need to give as much positive feedback to the machine to make sure that the machine keeps loving you forever, or else the emails go to spam.
Let's move on here. We got 2 more slides to go. Consistency. Yeah,
Same thing.
next one. Go on to slide 9, sunset policies. Yeah, this goes back to keeping your list clean. Like I said, it's the foundation of your email marketing efforts. You need, if you have a clean list, the bottom point there says everything. Clean list equals inbox. I think sunset policies. So, don't let email addresses bounce forever. If they're hard bouncing, or they're invalid addresses, you got to remove those. And same reason for other soft bounces. There's hard bounces and soft bounces. You need to stay on top of those, or at least choose an ESP that's going to stay on top of those and keep your list clean.
Yeah.
Again, and that protects your overall sender reputation. It's only going to increase your inbox rate. And at the end of the day, that's all we're here for. Reviewing regularly, making sure that elements that sunset are included in your strategy. People who don't open and click are dead weight.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to believe, but those people will grow over time. They become disinterested in what you're sending to them. So if they're not opening and clicking, wouldn't it be nice to know that? Wouldn't it be nice to know that these people are affecting your reputation and your delivery? Because ISPs are checking. I like to tell clients that I'm the messenger. Like, I know all these rules. I know, I've read all the Postmaster pages, and I've been in the industry for years. So, don't shoot the messenger. I'm giving you what ISPs expect of you. So it's up to you whether you listen to that or not. So if you don't listen to our advice, don't expect your delivery to improve. Why is my email going to the junk box? Well, okay. Well, I could tell you in 10 minutes why your email is going to the junk box.
Oh yeah. And it's
So
always the same
certain
issue.
questions. So, a lot of it we've covered here. I think we just set the record for the most amount of words said in a webinar in the last 5 minutes, but there's a lot of content here. Like I said before, choosing the right ESP is paramount. Obviously, I'm a little biased. CakeMail is the top of my list.
Me
But-
too. #1 fan.
If you're comparing sending through an email service provider to sending in-house, it's night and day. Like I said before, we've mentioned it a few times. The ESPs will automatically clean your list for you. They'll automatically get that FBL. They'll help you with authentication. They'll be able to brand your emails with your domain that you just purchased. Which they have a user interface that's easy to use, and the features that are built into it are designed to help you succeed. So why not go with them? There's lots of plans out there based on the volume that you're sending, and at the end of the day, these tools will help boost your engagement and make sure you have list hygiene, clean lists. So removing bounces, removing FBL complaints, removing unsubscribes. List growth is key to having a successful email marketing campaign, but need to be to boost your ROI at the end of the day. That's what we're all here to do. A lot of ESPs offer dedicated, some don't. The difference between in-house and using an email service provider. A lot of email service providers will have shared IP addresses, so you're only as good as the weakest sender if you're in a shared environment. You're getting a little technical here, but it's always better to send dedicated. At the end of the day, if you're on a dedicated IP address, you control 100% of that IP address's reputation. Same thing goes with a domain. If you're on a shared DKIM key or a shared DKIM domain, your reputation is shared with everyone else that's using it. So ask that question. If you're shopping around for ESPs, do you offer shared or do you offer dedicated space? I might be interested in doing that. Ask those questions. There's no harm in doing that. Do your homework. Account branding, we mentioned that before. Authentication support. Authentication can be a little complicated. It's a little technical. It's important to have a support team there. These are experts at advice at your fingertips. So, do your homework, choose the right ESP. Do they offer tools like integration, for example? Do you have integration with your CRM? So you can push addresses from your CRM directly into your list with CakeMail. Do you offer API as well for people who may not want to use your interface, or they already spent thousands of dollars constructing their own interface? Maybe they just want an API so that it can seamlessly send without that. Do we have any questions? How are we doing on time here? We got 10 minutes left. Again, people, if you have questions and we don't get to them, we'll be more than happy to answer you via email. So